Button Hut, and a glorious Friday to you all out there in MyRacehorseville. Nick Hines, that's right, I said MyRacehorseville because we've created our own village, and it's a wonderful one at that. But I hope you've been having a great week, and of course, on the heels of a winning weekend here with MyRacehorse.com. A big tip of the cap, a salute going out to the champ, Monomoy Girl, with that winning return in the Grade 3 Bayakoa at Oaklawn on Sunday, and of course, prefaced by a thrilling win. Another in the My Racehorse Silks for the victory in Got Stormy, winning the Honey Fox down at Gulfstream Park. Congratulations to trainers Mark Cassie, Brad Cox, and of course our partnership with Spendthrift and Manicat Race. We've got an exciting show for you today. As many of you know, the Anita Handicap. That's right, the Big Cap, the most storied race. I think you make an argument, one of the most storied, if not the most important race. Anyway, out here on the left coast, Anita Handicap, inaugurated back in 1935. Chisel Magician taking center stage tomorrow, Saturday. Then that, of course, will be the race 10 on the card. We'll talk Chisel Magician. But I'm ultra excited for today's show because not only will we bring in a special guest in Ren Carruthers, but the moment we've all been waiting for. But without further ado, let's welcome in our team. Of course, all things social, Hannah Bloom, our West Coast racing manager, Joe Moran, operations manager, Joe Mishak. Good day, team. And of course, we'll be bringing in Ren Carruthers here momentarily. How is everybody doing today?
Doing great, Nick. It's the seasons are changing. We got big races, a lot of other things going on. I got extra pep in my step today, baby.
Hannah?
Feeling good, yeah. An exciting weekend ahead with this magician. I can't wait.
Joe Moran.
Yeah, everything's good. At Santa Anita this morning, had a few work with Belichick and Naismith, so started the day off strong.
All right, a big salute to all of those folks out there that are tuning in. Mike Matho in New York City, Valerie in Hollywood, California, Sal Bump. I love that avatar photo with the My Racehorse Silks. Joe Mishak, I know you take pride as we kind of configure those My Racehorse Silks, but to see them atop Monomoy Girl, of course, the champ coming back with a big flare on Sunday and Got Stormy, extra special.
Oh, super extra special. I mean, just go to our homepage right now. I've been kind of telling the team, really talk about enjoying the moments, right, when they happen. And we have, Authentic, Monomoy Girl, Got Stormy, Moonlight Doro. I mean, just really take the appreciation and soak that in, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's what it's all about. And I know that as an owner and having been involved in the industry since birth, my father's silks, there's a little extra something that goes into it. So, again, a big thank you to our partnership with Spendthrift for making that dream certainly a reality. All right. We'll also, a bit later on in today's show, that feature that we've enjoyed so much, the Horse Spotlight, brought to you by none other than Hannah Bloom. We'll also talk a little bit about some horse terminology along the way. But let's jump right into it. Once again, the moment that we've been waiting for. You talk about pride and you talk about the idea of silks, but coming up with a horse's name, it takes it to a whole nother level. And as we had promo on the prior show with Ren Carruthers, let's take this time to get down to business with the names.
Hi, everybody. What's up?
All right. Ren, welcome to the show. Love your animation. And, you've been an integral part of this process. And as part of the naming panel, which includes myself, you, Hannah, and Joe Mishak, tell us briefly, what goes into this naming process?
Well, there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, first of all, you have to make sure that you're within your character limits. 18, that is including your spaces and your punctuation. And am I echoing? I'm just curious.
You're great. Keep going.
I'm great. So, there's that going for it. One of the things also you want to keep in mind is sometimes you'll think that a name is available because, I'm spelling it a different way. No, that doesn't work either because you don't want homonym type names, because if a horse is already named something, just because you kind of change it up and spell it a different way, you can't do that either. But yeah, generally, I really do love, for me, I personally am a fan most of one-word names. You've got the greatest of all time over your shoulder there, Nick, in Secretariat. But I mean, there's so many fun ways that you can do it. You can do it based on sire dam. You can do it based on, something, there's a thematic thing going on with the lineage. But you can also do, I mean, sometimes a horse just has a really cool marking with which it's born, and you can name it after that. So my main thing is I really prefer names that you can envision on a trophy going forward, because, you know, it shows intent, right? And hope. But yeah, there's just still certain rules. You don't want to do anything offensive. You, again, don't want to do a name that sounds the same. You are, again, limited by the characters. If you want to name your horse after somebody who's famous, currently living, you got to get signed permission sent to the Jockey Club. But I mean, basically, it's pretty straightforward. Oh, Nick.
Name. There were yeah, exactly, right? There were 14 horses to name, and we're going to list out the top 5 names for 4 of the horses. So let's get it started. Ren, let's start with you.
All right, so we're going to talk about Latte Da. And what a pedigree, first of all, on this horse. Can we just call that out right off the top? I mean, you're buying to mischief. Latte Da herself, full sister to multiple Grade 1 winner Colonel John, won the Travers, won the Santa Anita Derby. Amazing, right? So you want a great name for this horse, and what fun can you have when you've got Into Mischief as your sire? And sure enough, we got some fun names here for this filly. So are we just, do we have a graphic that we want to show, or do we just want me to
There
say
it is. It's right there at the bottom of the screen.
Tell us what
they are.
Oh, there it is. Okay, so full steam ahead. Hello. I mean, doesn't that make sense? Your cup of coffee, steamy, and you want to go ahead. Makes sense. Bad brew. You're being naughty. You got to love that one as well. In a latte trouble. Self-explanatory. Caffeinated. I think that's a great name, because, I mean, you're going to get some pep in your step with that, right? And then you got Troubles a Brewin', which again is just a really fitting name for a horse by Into Mischief out of Latte Da.
I love it. I love it. There are probably multiple favorites within that list. All right, I'll take step 2 on the next one up, and it is Class of 63 by Gunrunner. Of course, we're very excited about Gunrunner as a freshman sire for the accomplishments that he had out there on the racetrack. I think when you reflect back on his career as we kind of grow and evolve, I think he's going to be an exceptional sire first and foremost. But for Class of 63, there were, I'm sure, a number of ideas. It was so fun to see the again, the names that were sent in and reasons why. But let's read them across. 63 Caliber. All right. 21 Gun Salute. Absolutely love that name. Ballistics Major. You bet. Zouave. Now, Hannah might be able to answer what Zouave persists from, but then Gun in 60 Seconds. I like the one word names like you, Zen, Zouave, but that 21 Gun Salute. Hey, Joe, did we meet the characters on that one? I think we did.
If we counted correctly, I believe we did.
We had it we had it checked out like 3 times. So if 3 people messed up, we all need a vacation.
Then we have issues. But to go off Zouave, that actually has a really cool meaning behind it. It's a highly collectible Civil War rifle from 1863 that someone submitted. So we just thought, very cool.
Well, of course, Z being kind of thinking of Zenyatta, Z might actually go a long way in the voting process. All right, Hannah, let's go to you. What is your horse of topic?
So I will be talking about Midnight Sweetie. So a lot of fun with these names. I thought it's kind of hard not to pick a favorite, but we'll start with Burn the Midnight Oil, obviously, because she is by Bernardini. And then Dark Promise. We've got Sweet Reflection, Dolce Note, and then Midnight Martini. So kind of those sweet names going along there, and I think they're fun.
Very sweet. And who doesn't love a Midnight Martini? And I think that we can attribute Burn the Midnight Oil to pretty much all of us here at MyRacehorse.com. Even when our eyes are closed, we're still working because money never sleeps. Dolce Notte, these are great names. And a big thank you to those folks that submitted them. And, of course, through the panel going back and forth. But we hope that one of these would potentially go on to become a Grade 1 winner. All right, Joe Mishak, what is your subject?
I have the honor code exonerated filly, and to echo that, there were so many great names on a lot of these horses. Made it super hard. There was a lot of intense debate in our war room, going back and forth, and it made it really fun. Some of the other names, they're probably like B B- level. Next year, raise the game, right? Got to raise the game every year, but we make it worthwhile. So this exonerated filly, I mean, she's just a gorgeous filly. Obviously, Nick, you remember her from the Keeneland September sale. Not a typical honor code where you know out of that APND line you're expecting big type of horses, but definitely a rangy filly, very smart. So lots of crafty names here. Crack the code. Mistrial, above suspicion, I believe, is on my list and Ren's list. Pretty creative there. My favorite on this one was too legit to acquit, and still not guilty, obviously.
I don't know if I could still do that. It was like too legit. Wait, too legit to quit. Hey, right?
We're kicking back to the 90s.
I had the pants. I got to tell you.
MC Hammer. I mean, all the way. This exonerated thing could take it to a whole nother extreme. But you know what? Kudos to those folks that it sent those names in. And I think, Ren, you could attest to this as well. And I know that you do tremendous research, and we appreciate you on behalf of all of us, and of course being part of the team and your pedigree updates. But there's a lot that goes into that, and especially when you go to the registry and you're like, is that name taken? But here's the issue, a phonetic aspect of it, because you might have different spelling, but if phonetically it sounds the same, they won't allow it. And
exactly.
Right, because I was thinking like the American Pharaoh. I was looking at names. I was like, what about Ferocious? I know that doesn't sound like Pharaoh. Right, but they wouldn't allow it because there's been a horse called Ferocious. So
we saw a great example of that with the honor code exonerated fillies. Some people were thinking Codex. Well, Codex, they had it differently. The Codex was a famous racehorse, so you can't.
I'm still mad at him, by the way. I'm mad at Anil Cordero for when he struck Genuine Risk on the nose. Because Genuine Risk is my all-time favorite. No disrespect to the Queen Zenyatta, but Genuine Risk kind of took my heart away there as I became such a big fan of the game. Okay.
What's so funny? I'll just say real quick. When I was growing up in racing, we actually, my parents actually had a trio of horses, Meshach, Sidrak, and a Bendigo. So I just had a shout out to Joe here because of that, Meshach.
It's Meshach, but everybody calls me Meshach, so let's roll with it.
That's the name for a horse, though, Meshach, right? What about that?
That's what we had, yeah.
As long as he runs fast.
But it's been a long time. See, there you go. The horse has been gone a long time. So if you want to use that name.
There you go.
All right. Okay, Hannah. So tell us what's the next process now that we've essentially come up with a final list of names. Okay, so the submissions were open back February 15th through the 22nd. Final 5 names for each. We did that today. Yep. So now it goes to the vote. What do the folks out there need to do?
Yeah, so they will be able to vote. They'll have a few days from the 5th to the 11th, the same process that they had the last time the submissions were open. And then the finalists we will announce March 13th, so right around the corner. So make sure you get those submissions in. And again, thank you to everyone who submitted. We know it takes a lot of time and effort to kind of creativity to think of these names, and we really appreciate it. They did a great job.
Yeah, let the madness begin. I mean, this is a whole other element to March Madness. I mean, outside of the hardwood and collegiate basketball, I'm excited. Again, I've got a few favorites that I've recognized in there, so I'll be interested to see how you, the My Racehorse shareholder, vote. So, Ren,
I like this comment though. No Saint Sard. So James submitted it.
We'll say that for another holiday, maybe the 4th of July. How about that? Hey, Ren, thank you so much. Your work is not going unnoticed, and your passion is on full display, and we appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing these names in headlines. Let's do it.
Yeah, sure. I think, Joe Meshach, you had one more note about the naming contest, correct?
Yeah, so after our show today, that's when we'll send out links for voting. So hold tight, in the next, 1 to 2 hours, you'll have your links to go out and vote for the 5. Obviously, for the names, now you'll get the rest of the 10 more to vote on the 14 total. So stay tuned. Open up soon.
Anna?
Yeah, no, I see a lot of people are a little upset that we didn't do all of the names, but we would have been here all day on our live show. We have a lot of things to talk about, so we just talked about 4 for right now, but you will see the submissions for all of the horses. But like I said, wish we could have talked about them all, but we don't have all the time in the world. All
right, ladies, thank you. Ren, thank you. Get those votes in for the naming submission. And bring back in Joe Moran, our West Coast racing manager. I know you've been ultra busy And we're going to jump into Tis the Magician here shortly. But we want to do a little bit of reflection. Of course, looking back at last weekend with the return of Got Stormy, Monomoy Girl, the champ, both coming back with grade 3 victories as delivered and as advertised. I think the expectation was high going in. But Joe Mishak, in this given situation, it's as I alluded to, it's kind of a turnkey pressurized situation because you've got 2 champion fillies, mares that while they have nothing to prove, now flying the flag of MyRacehorse, they've got a lot to prove, right? I mean, this is where we're at.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it was the first. You're always a little worried after that little break, right? But as Brad Cox alluded to, and I think Mark Cassie, these fillies never really left training. They went to the sale. They took a little bit of a breather, and then they got him back up again. So they were in good form. Obviously, both ran similar fire speed figures. Monomoy Girl with a 96 and Got Stormy with a 95. And that's really kind of on the low end of their bar, right? And they're typically popping higher numbers than that. So just obviously you don't need them to crack the highest number first out, nor do you want them to in the first out, especially if they win. So I mean, I think the race here set up perfectly for Monomoy. The track was playing. I don't want to take all of Joe Moran's thunder away because I know he was there at the race, but the track was really playing. Advantageous out in the middle where Monomoy Girl drew and got that trip. So it was just I don't think it was ever in doubt in our minds.
Well, Joe Moran, I know you've seen her in previous races up and close and personal, but for this particular race, seeing her in the paddock, she's been able to rattle off now 6 straight wins. Essentially, it could have been 7. In reality, it could have been umptitude if she hadn't been disqualified in the Grade 1 cotillion. And I see you smiling, Hannah Bloom. Joe, what was your take, Joe Moran being there at this juncture? For me, I kind of got the impression that maybe she was struggling with the track a little bit, but were you confident at this point?
Yeah, I will say I was definitely holding my breath for a second. Ferrant Drew was trying to get after a little bit. Finite kind of extended the lead. And then once we kind of turned for home and they leveled out into the stretch, she was in the middle of the track, and I feel like she made up about 3 or 4 lengths in a span of 3 or 4 strides. And then right there, it was party over at that point. But ultimately, from the paddock time, we had a lot of heavy rain starting race 7. There was lightning, rain. You're kind of sitting there saying, oh boy, coming off a layoff, how is she truly going to handle this surface? Even though she's proven over it before and she's run over everything, you still had a little bit of worry. How is she going to handle that track? But she was a true professional from the time she hit the paddock. Nothing fazed her when she hit the track. Just an ultimate professional.
Yeah, conceivably could have been her 12th straight win, and it's a remarkable career up until this point, being a 6-year-old daughter of Tapizar, who's won 14 of 16 with 2 seconds, in excess of $4.5 million in purses. She earned a 9 on the Ragsdale sheet. Joe, you mentioned Joe Mishak, that while the buyer number maybe not up to par, for me, it's a perfect step back to get her into that 2021 campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Grade 1 $1 million apple blossom up next here, and in I think the 3rd week of April, if I'm right, getting my dates right. So it's I think even more exciting. Brad will really get to her as much as he can now. It's a big race. That's a very prestigious race, and you talked about the big cap, which we'll talk about here shortly. These are the types of races as an owner, as a group, as a shareholder that I think I've always dreamed about participating, and I'm sure you guys have as well.
Hannah, having been there and now as they kind of gradually allow owners back to the track, in just a few words, how could you encapsulate the feeling? And of course, these partners involved with MyRacehorse that have invested in Monomoy Girl, how was that vibe overall? I can imagine it was spectacular.
It was spectacular, and I'd say it was really nice to kind of feel a little bit normal again, masks and all in place. But I will say it was really great to see everyone there and really excited. And again, there's not actual owners yet. They have just indicated interest, but it was just really excited to see the MyRacehorse owners get to experience a day like that, and especially watch a queen like Monomoy Girl. So it was really great to be a part of it.
Excellent. No, it's a wonderful thing. And, again, looking forward to the next step for Monomoy Girl. And do we have an idea? You mentioned the grade 1 Apple Blossom, correct, Joe Mishak?
That's correct. That's on the calendar.
All right. Well, we got it on the calendar, and she certainly does not need to take her track with her. I love the fact that she was able to get over that sloppy track, because not all sloppy wet racetracks are the same. She proved that, having won at Belmont Churchill over a wet track previously, even when she debuted over a good turf course, Indiana Grand, dating back in September of 2017.
And
all right. Well, let's go ahead, Joe.
I have a question for you. You know, I didn't know this up until recently. Could you talk about the difference at Oaklawn Park and working the track due to its unique circumstances out there?
Well, as far as the cancellations that they had, you know, the weather, the one thing about Oaklawn, it does tend to take to the water better than most racetracks, because we'll track, you know, on a train track, on a turf course, but
I believe we're having a little technical difficulties for Sarge, but hopefully we'll get him back in a second. I did see a comment, Moran, about the MRH banner behind you, so I think some clarification maybe that you're not at home.
I'm not at home. Luckily, I was at Santa Anita early this morning, so this is our MyRacehorse suite at Santa Anita. So I'm lucky enough to have this on the wall behind me.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have that background as well. So that's the answer.
New merchandise coming down not too shortly now. MyRacehorse Fatheads. Perfect idea.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. We can have each customized horses. I love it.
I love that. You know, I think moving on to other exciting things, since we're waiting on Nick here, but Got Stormy also won a grade 3 this weekend. So I believe we have that replay and we can kind of walk through that as well. Really exciting to see her back on Saturday, take the field. And after a little break, like you said, Mishak, that the break didn't do anything to her. And here she is to prove herself again.
Yeah, I think this, you know, played out perfectly. You know, she's always naturally pretty quick out of the gate, puts herself in good position. And that's always a great thing to have in a racehorse. You get out of the gate, you have that ability to get to the lead or sit where you want. That's just, I mean, the perfect thing you draw up in your head. So she obviously let Jakarta go here and set a decent pace in front of her. Perfect trip, and you know, a little further as we get in the lane, she obviously got first jump on the group, and I think that ultimately probably proved the difference here, as you know, a few horses were getting there late on her and gaining ground. I think it's you know, again, she got the first jump. It's a good start back off for the first race of the year, and she'll probably follow a similar pattern to Monomoy Girl, and don't have a particular race targeted yet, but I'm pretty sure that many folks out there that were listening to the telecast on whether it be TVG or the Gulfstream Park local track heard Mark Cassie talk about Got Stormy and her preference for firm ground overall moving forward. So I would look for Mark to look at a spot where he thinks, you know, we're obviously going to not get a soft setup down the line.
Yeah. It was definitely exciting to watch. You know, Joe and I, Moran and I were traveling to Hot Springs, and so it was a really nice way to start out the weekend watching that win, and then seeing how impressively she did so after a layoff. We have Nick back.
Oh, thank you. Not sure what the dealio was, but you know it is.
Never, if I do say so.
We have a live program here and relying on broadband Wi-Fi, whichever it may be. You know, the one thing about Got Stormy, you know, much like we see with Monomoy Girl, the fact that her career has evolved, and you know, a multiple grade 1 winning daughter of Get Stormy, to come back and do what she did. Because Tyler Gaffalione, if you remember, Joe Mishak, Joe Moran, when we talked about this race, the race flow wasn't great. So it's not as if this is a filly that wants to be up close like that. So for her to do what she did, I think she's, you know, her style, when you look at her races from toward the tail end of last year, she liked to ride, and she doesn't have the pace that she actually made running here, which trust me. And Tyler Gaffalione did another exceptional job, and he's been the main go-to pilot.
Yeah, it looks like he's still having some issues for Sarge. Wi-Fi issues, but I think we do have a really exciting Authentic video, a little bit of an update from Authentic on the process of him as he transitions into his second career. So I believe we have that video queued up.
Advertising a stallion probably starts before we purchase them, regardless of whether we purchase them prior to their racing career, during their racing career, or upon completion. We're always looking at how marketable that horse will be. It's impossible to know whether a stallion is going to be successful or not. We certainly have all the criteria. Most of the farms are looking at the same kinds of things, but none of us has a crystal ball. So we have to determine whether or not we think people want to use them, and can we make a good case to breeders. Once we feel like we can do that, then when he comes to stud, we start going in and breaking out our various tools that we have. In the case of Authentic, all we really needed was a telephone and to make sure we answer it. Breeders have been approaching us, and we've been overrun with requests. It was really a fairly easy process. A lot of breeders were trying to line up breedings before we had set a stud fee, before he was retired. There's so much demand, they didn't want to be left out, but they wanted to get assurances from our salesmen, from whoever they know here at the farm. Can they rely on him being a good-looking horse when they come to see him? Are they going to be happy? That's where the relationships that our salesmen in particular build day in, day out, year in, year out with breeders is so important. There's a really big face-to-face component to this that is really almost impossible to replace. But again, when you've got a horse like Authentic, it certainly makes it a lot easier. When it comes to advertising and marketing stallions, the thoroughbred industry is really relatively small. There's a handful of industry publications that everybody reads, and those are really must-haves in terms of advertising space. Two other resources that breeders use quite regularly is the Blood Horse Stallion Register. That is sort of the phone book or the Bible, if you will. Almost every stallion has a page, 2 pages in there where it'll usually include a photograph and a lot of raw data about his progeny, about his race record, about his pedigree. Another source are the nicking sites. We rely heavily on TrueNicks. It is a very, very useful tool, and so it's very important to list our stallions on those sites. When people go to start doing hypothetical matings, they can plug their mare in with any given stallion and see how that mating looks on paper. Are there other examples of that cross that have worked particularly well? Or is there a lack of success with that cross? In the past, we've relied heavily on direct mail. That's something that we still do. The advent of social media has made that a more convenient and more economical way to get the message to our breeders on a lot of horses. And there's so many things that we can do there in terms of pictures and videos. We utilize Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and even to a lesser extent, Pinterest, just to try to make sure all of our bases are covered. If you can show people a pretty foal by one of your stallions, or a great confirmation shot, or just a great paddock shot of a particular stallion, you can really get people to take notice, and then you follow that up with the right message. This year, with COVID making it more difficult for breeders to get out and see all the stallions, this was the first year that we chose to do a virtual stallion show, and all of our stallions are featured on there. When you've got a good-looking horse, as most of ours are, that can help cement in the breeder's mind that that's the right horse for their mare. Another avenue of advertising that we've taken advantage of is actually in-house produced commercials specific to each stallion. Those are placed oftentimes on PVG and on the NYRA broadcasts. One of the most important things that we do here is make our stallions available to breeders for inspection, one-on-one physical inspection. When you can lead that stallion out of the stall and stand him up in front of a breeder and just let them soak them in, that's a great way to make a sale. And very oftentimes you don't have to talk, you can just let them look. and the horse will sell himself.
All right. Well, I think we have Nick back again. Maybe third time's a charm. I know he's trying here. So let's see if we can get him back. All right. He's kind of there.
I know one thing.
I mean, he's trying.
Somebody's getting a phone call when the show is over. And don't worry, it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with me and the powers that be. I will say this: I had an opportunity to enjoy that video. I think it was phenomenal. Just a transition to that second career for Authentic. But boy, doesn't he? He just kind of gives the impression he's just a pro's pro, like he's been there before.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I mean, he's for everything we've heard. I mean, he's doing his job. He's liking his job, and we were a month into breeding season, so I think a sigh of relief for everybody out there, just seeing if you take to that, and all systems go.
All right.
I think we're still having a little bit of issue with Nick. I just send him a message. Maybe if he turns off his video and just leaves his audio on, we'll be able to have his commentary at least. So we'll see if that can work. Let's try this one more time. Thanks for bearing with us, everyone. I'm trying to get this figured out. Maybe it won't work. All right. Well, we get that figured out. I think we're going to move on to the Tis a Magician handicapping segment, as we've talked about. Grade 1 this weekend with the big cap, very historic, exciting race. I don't have any picks myself, but I know the two Joes do. So I'll let them kind of take over as they talk about their picks. Maybe we'll start with Joe Moran.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously we're all super excited for the Grade 1 Santa Anita Handicap. Anytime you run in a Grade 1, you know it's going to be a tough race. So as I've mentioned, for those that tuned into the Wednesday work show, to be the best, you got to beat the best. And you're going to have to beat the best. We got Maxfield coming into town. Express Train, who was the Grade 2 San Pasqual winner, was very impressive last time out. So I think, from this race, from a handicapping standpoint, obviously I'm a little biased here with Tis a Magician. So I'm going to go 2 deep, Express Train and Tis a Magician on top in a trifecta. I was here yesterday at Santa Anita watching all the schoolers. I got to see pretty much every horse, Independence Hall, Express Train, Tis a Magician. Maxfield were all schooling yesterday. I thought Express Train looked phenomenal yesterday. I just handled stuff like a pro. You could tell he was on the muscle. Tis a Magician as well. I mean, I don't think we've seen him ever look better weight-wise, condition-wise. I don't think there's a ton of speed. I think the X factor is what is King Guillermo going to do on the outside of Tis a Magician. So if we can not have him bother us, I think we'll get a great trip, being on the front end. And then underneath, we'll use Maxfield. We're also going to use Express Train. Idol, I think he'll improve, getting Joel Rosario and Tis a Magician in second. And we're going to do the same thing underneath with the addition. Oh, I'm drawing a blank of who I added here too. But I got it right here. I got it right here in front of me.
Kiss Today Goodbye.
Repeat that for me one more time.
I think it's Kiss Today Goodbye. You throw in that.
Yes. Here's a horse that, last race on numbers, Thoroughbred especially, he could bounce back with a big effort. I'm not sure if he took to that Gulfstream Park surface. It was also his first race without Lasix, so there's a lot of question marks there. But he could get be a late closer for third that I think I would use underneath for a price. So we're going to keep Express Train and Tis a Magician on top and try to get some prices underneath.
All right, very cool. One of these days, maybe I will put together a ticket. I know we've had a few requests for some easy bets, so maybe I'll put in like a win play show kind of thing. So stay tuned. But Jim Ishak, let's look at your ticket and see who you picked.
Yeah, so similar trend. I think we're all kind of handicapping it very similar. I love the draw for Tis a Magician before the race, entries came out. I was hoping we'd draw mid-pack towards the outside. So dream came true there. I think, that long run up into the first turn will allow jockey Drayden Van Dyke to, assess things, see how the pace is developing. If any unexpected speed gives him a lot of options. So excited there. But obviously, Tis a Magician's going to have to make a big jump up here. But it's a value proposition. He's 12-1 on the morning line. And that's kind of the value I'm trying to throw in with this ticket here. Maxfield, obviously, perfect 5 for 5. We've often talked in the past about East Coast horses coming out to Santa Anita and struggling with the track. I just don't believe that this is going to be a horse that's going to find himself in that predicament. So that's why I included him up front. I think he'll run a huge race. And as Joe Moran alluded to, it was tough for me to leave Express Train out, and you could throw Express Train up in second and make it a bigger ticket. there's enough value there to do that. But I think with Idol, I was just trying to create more value. Again, I think he's 6-1 on the morning line. I think he'll probably hold that value there. And getting Joel Rosario is going to be huge for him. I think that's, Joel can be anywhere on the track, but I think with a horse like Idol's style, I think that they're a match made in heaven together. So I think he'll be pretty tough. And then again, we throw in Express Train, but it's awful tough to discount him. I could easily see him, improving off that San Pascal win and winning the Anita Handicap. So that's kind of my spin on the race.
Very cool. I think, fourth time. I'm sorry, there's an echo. Oh, we just lost him. I saw Nick was there, but looks like he's gone again. So I'm sorry, but we do have.
If I can touch on one thing, I wanted to go back to Mishak, because obviously I think Maxfield is a huge player in this race, no doubt. Hard to knock his 5-for-5 record. I guess for me, if anyone's wondering why I really, threw him out on top, because it is kind of taking a stand. I guess my biggest concern, I wanted to hear your thoughts of coming off a 3-week turnaround only. He's a horse that's been lightly raced in his career, so it's asking a lot now for him on a 3-week turnaround, shipping to California, first time non-Lasix. I guess obviously he's overcome a lot of adversity in his career. He's a horse that, he's just hard to knock. But I guess do you think he's just that good to overcome those next challenges that are going to be thrown at him?
Yeah. What can I say? I think you summed it up beautifully. I mean, their awful is if you're like to play, against the favorite, you just gave a lot of good reasons why you wouldn't play Maxfield in this spot. That is a lot to overcome. I just do think he is, the top echelon of the handicap horses this year. And, regardless of whether he runs big here or not, I think he's going to be a player for this division for the whole year. So obviously Saturday will tell us whether or not he's good enough to do the 3 weeks first time on Lasix, or whether that was too soon coming back.
Yeah.
But couldn't fault you for trying to, go against and play. And it's probably the better play overall to go with you're probably getting more value on if you want to do Express Train off that San Pascal.
Yeah, no, you brought up some good things. Like I said, I know I talked to you and other parts of our team, Chris Ransom, and I said if I had to bet someone today to win this Cup Classic, he would probably be my bet in that bet. So I'm all on board. I just think today, if he could get beat, I think this would be the opportunity to try to beat him.
All right. I think, like I said, we have Sarge one more time. I'm going to try bringing him in. Fourth time's a charm. I think it looks clear. We have his ticket, so we might as well talk about it, right? So Sarge, if you want to talk about your picks.
It's probably a blessing for some folks.
All right.
Maybe he was drinking. Maybe we were joking in the pre-production. I think he was having some kind of green tea, but it looked like a White Claw. I'm not so sure he was telling the truth.
Oh man, he's trying, you guys. It's all the Wi-Fi. So, anyways, we have a really exciting Tis a Magician hype video. I think we want to show that for you guys right now.
Tis a magician keeps on running.
Tis a magician. Tis a magician fights on. Tis a magician Ultra Cup. And it's Tis a magician who would not be denied.
Definitely gets me pumped up and excited for this weekend. So can't wait to watch him this weekend in the Grade 1 Big Cap. Historic and exciting. And Mishak and Moran, thank you for your picks. And Nick too, although we didn't get to talk about them, but he's here in spirit. I know he's trying to figure out his Wi-Fi. So moving on, or Moran, I believe you have a comment.
Yeah, I thought there was a good question that came through from Doug S. If we can pull it up regarding Lasix. I mentioned another horse running off of Lasix, and that brought up a question. Did Tis a Magician run with Lasix last time, and what's the rule for the Breeders' Cup? So Tis a Magician starting in 2021. All stakes races are no Lasix. Also, 2-year-olds cannot start with Lasix starting this year in 2021. And the Breeders' Cup will be run with no Lasix as well. So, it's something that maybe not all horses will be able to handle. And you've seen some horses with that first time. For me, I'm going to have to see a horse make a few starts before I really cross them out. But it's a big adjustment sometimes when horses have run it every single time in their career. And I think Maxfield's a great example for that. You've seen at fairgrounds with their jurisdiction, he was able to run with Lasix last time. He will not be able to run Lasix at Santa Anita in the Grade 1 Santa Anita Handicap. So it's something to just pay attention to whenever you're looking at the form. You'll see an L. It's usually listed right next to the jockey's weight, and that's how you'll know if the horse is using Lasix. If there is no L, it signifies no Lasix.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Marianne. We actually have another question from Judy Newman going off of that other question. What is Lasix for those who don't know?
So it's going to be something that helps a horse from bleeding, from an internal bleeding. It could also dehydrate a horse. So it's very important when a horse is given Lasix that they are given proper water, even though you do have to stop, the amount of water they're drinking at a certain time. When I was grooming, usually after they got their bath, trained that morning, if they did, or walked, usually you would cut that water supply off around that time, depending where their race was located. But the main goal of Lasix is to prevent that internal bleeding.
Perfect.
Great.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Well, Hannah, it's that time of the show to go about our horse spotlight for the week. And who do we have this week to feature?
This week we're going to talk Man Among Men, and I want to give a shout out to my racehorse employee, Abby Huffman. She is in Florida right now, and so I was able to talk to her because she's been able to see him in person, and it was really great to kind of hear the little tidbits about the horse. We'll see some photos and video. She said it sounds like he's a real ham, personally. He's really nosy, super curious. She said a real goofball personality. And we'll get to see that in some of the pictures. But she just said really silly. He definitely loves being the center of attention, and just a lot of personality in the stall. I mean, I think we love to see that. And so in one of the pictures I'm going to show you can even see she was getting photos of another one of our horses, Kayala. And, he's right in the background trying to peep through. She said, anytime another horse is getting attention, he is definitely jealous. So we'll see that in some of the photos, I believe, that we have here, if we can pull them up. And if not, just really nice to see that kind of side of his personality. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it's going back to September when we purchased him out the Keeneland sale. You could just know that, you open up a catalog, right? And most yearlings are unnamed, which is why we're doing the naming contest, right? But this horse actually had a name already, Man Among Men. And I was like, oh, I got to see what this horse is about, right? And, they bring him out and we're looking at him, and it's just, it's it's just easily to know this horse has a name for a reason. So he definitely has character, and it's been cool to kind of see him progress. And obviously now as an early 2-year-old, and, hopefully not too far away, a few months away from all these 2-year-olds graduating from that early phase of their training, heading to their respective trainers, if everything continues to go well. Obviously, they're in there between their second and third breezes now, and it'll be exciting, hopefully, for the summer to see some of these make it.
Very exciting. And I have questions. Sorry about that echo. About which horse we were talking about. It is Man Among Men. And then also, I really like this comment from Bob Kimpani. Any horse with a goofball personality will fit very well on my team. So we kind of agree, and we definitely love that ham personality from Man Among Men. So excited to see him progressing.
Absolutely, absolutely. So excited to see him at a track near you pretty soon out in California. So our next segment, obviously, Tana, you've been educating the folks out there regarding the terminology in our industry, and really excited to see what you have for the folks out there this week.
Yeah. So like I've said, I'm kind of learning along with everyone else as well. So this week I'm going to have a few new terms for you. This kind of goes along with when a horse is either breezing or perhaps in a race. So these 3 terms are in hand, all out, and under wraps. And then once I explain these, I actually will show a video where we can kind of explain this a little bit more, but I'll start with all out. So probably the easiest to understand, I would say, all out is when a horse is fully extending himself. So, perhaps all out. This is when they're giving maximum effort and they're pushing on, the rider might be pushing on that horse, potentially using a crop and asking that horse to give their all. In hand, a horse that's running under moderate control at less than best pace. So in hand, so it may be kind of not really being asked, could be loose on the reins and traveling comfortably. It's a good sign. And then you have under wraps, and that'll be when the rider could be looking like a statue in the irons, wasn't asking the horse, and that horse looked nice under wraps. His hands are close to the horse's body, and he has a good hold on the horse. So I think it's a good time to kind of bring up that video, and we can explain it a little bit better to get a visual. I think we'll pull that up next. And to talk about the video we're going to show is actually 2 horses from the Bob Baffert barn, and those horses I believe are actually running Saturday. So yeah, these 2 horses, if you want to see, you'll see the inside horse is actually in hand, and then the outside horse is what you'd consider all out. It's a really good example of 2 horses that are actually working at the same distance, but one is doing it all by themselves and the other is actually being asked a lot of the rider. So you'll see once they turn. And like I said, I'm learning like every one of you. So I'm enjoying doing these sessions with you guys. And if you have any other input, please let me know. But as you can see, the horse on the inside is following C, kind of traveling easy. And then the horse on the outside, defunded, is kind of being asked a lot of the rider. But like I said, it's a really good example of seeing 2 horses at the same time and the same distance, but end up finishing the same, but with 2 different kind of outcomes, one easy, one not as easy. So that's kind of my terminology segment for the day. I don't know if we have any input from Moran or Mishek.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think that's a great education standpoint. We always talk about timing and not getting obsessed with your horse's times unless you see the workout. And if they're, I know I did a segment on American Fair probably a year or 2 ago that I shared with the shareholders on timing, where he was just in hand. The rider, the rider's going like this, not moving, and 46, bam, it's just, that's beautiful, right? Or you could be all out and have 46, and it doesn't necessarily translate. And most times it isn't good when you're all out like that.
Great. Well, I'm positive from the owners and viewers, and I really like that. Like I said, if you have any suggestions for the future, please let me know. I'm learning along with you guys, and it's really fun to do so. All right, so I think that kind of wraps up our show. Thank you for bearing with us all. I know a lot of technical difficulties. I know Sarge is really bummed that it happened this way, but it was nice to have him on for a little bit, and definitely a lot we got to cover this weekend. And reminder to tune into our watch party on Saturday for Tis a Magician, and best of luck to all of our owners in the Grade 1 Big Cap. Any notes from either Joe to wrap up?
No, let's just hope for a big race, a safe race, and good luck to all the shareholders. I mean, this is really what you're buying into a horse for, and coming along the journey to see a horse from Tis a Magician that we've had from the early stages. We've had our ups and downs. We shipped to Dubai, had to kind of get him back in the form, and now to see that patience really be rewarded to run in a Grade 1 on a day like this, such a race, a prestigious race like the Big Cap at Santa Anita, it's just something special. So cherish these moments. That's what I could say. I've been in this game my whole life, and these moments don't come every day. So cherish these moments.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
I couldn't have said it better. I have a few questions about the naming contest. I'm going to throw up that banner one more time. So today we announced we will send out an email about the names that were chosen, the 5 names for each horse. And then from today on to the 11th, you will have the option to vote on those horses. And then the finalists will be announced on March 13th. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you. We actually won't be here next week because of the sales, but we will keep you all tuned on the next show after that. So thank you.